I wanted peace. I wanted truth. A life with meaning. A world with roots. But this is not that world. And I've had enough.
I've had enough of fake freedom sold in chains, of leaders smiling while they profit from pain. I've had enough of wars fought in my name, of death made normal, it's all insane. I've had enough of poison skies and burning trees, of corporate greed dressed up as needs, of children starving while billionaires play, of lies shoved down our throats every day. I've had enough of media fear, of gaslit truth and engineered tears, of idols with empty souls, selling silence to keep control. I've had enough, I've had enough. We won't bow down, we've had it rough. I've had enough, I've had enough. This world's a joke and we call it bluff. I've had enough, I've had enough of dying inside to play along. I've had enough, I've had enough. It's time to scream, to rise, be strong. I've had enough of fake morality codes, of praising monsters in tailored clothes, of empty prayers on hollow screens while real ones bleed behind the scenes. I've had enough of silence bought, of truth erased and justice sold short. I've had enough of killing time while they kill minds and call it fine. I've had enough of normal that's sick, of broken systems dressed up slick. I want a world where heart still matters, not just metrics, views, and cloud chatter. I've had enough, I've had enough. We won't comply, we're waking up. I've had enough, I've had enough. The puppet strings and twisted love. I've had enough, I've had enough of kneeling down to smiling frauds. I've had enough, I've had enough of fake salvation from self-made gods.
You call this life, this theater of rot, where love is content and truth is bought. You expect us to smile while the world decays. We're not blind, we're not numb, we've just been quiet too long.
I've had enough, I've had enough of obeying systems built to crush. I've had enough, I've had enough. We're not your tools, we've had enough. I've had enough, I've had enough. Now hear our voice, it cuts through dust. I've had enough, I've had enough. This world is falling, not with us.
So yeah. Fuck you all.